Hello everyone. Yes, I am wearing layers. I think it's in the 50s right now and I lost all of my cold tolerance. But today I'm gonna plant up my bucket planter. I love this. I got this last year on Amazon. I was looking for some sort of like vertical container, but something that also looked pretty. I don't know if you'd consider this pretty, but I do. And I think this was originally made for holding bouquets of flowers, like outside of a store or something, but I drilled holes in the bottom. In fact, let me see if I can take one of these out and show you. So I drilled holes in the bottom of these. It was pretty easy to do so that they have some drainage. Each bucket of this planter is about 1 gallon. I'm doing 1 plant per bucket, just like I did last year. And I don't know exactly where this is going to go yet, but luckily it's on wheels, so I can move it any place that I want. Something extra exciting this year about the bucket planter is Proven Winners is going to include photos of it in their Gardener's Idea Book for 2026, which makes me equally excited and equally nervous because that means I need these to look good. So I'm gonna take a bunch of pictures of this throughout the season. I'm not sure if they're gonna actually come and take some photos of it too, but I'm so excited for how I think this is gonna turn out. And I did get to pick the plants in here. Obviously they had to be Proven Winners plants, but I got to pick the plants myself and I think I'm really going to love this. So now let me go through the plants, but before I do that, I'll talk a little bit about how I planted this up last year and what I learned to do and not to do. Last year I think it was a different plant per pot or almost a different plant per pot. I had Gumrina in the top, which did great. I had begonias and impatiens that started off doing great and then got completely covered by the Supertunias. So the Supertunias just took over and you could barely see the begonias and the impatiens, and I think they started to die at some point because they weren't getting any sunlight. So what I was thinking for this year was either no Supertunias and just grow plants that aren't going to trail out and cover the other plants, or go crazy with petunias. And that's the direction I'm going. Now I'm not doing petunias in every single one, as you can see. I am planting Gumrina, which the flowers on here should stay tall enough so that they don't get covered by the Supertunias as the Supertunias expand. And then I'm growing a few different varieties of petunias. 1 I believe is available this year and 2 are gonna be available next year. So now let me go over the specifics of each of these plants. So first up, the variety of Gumrina that I'm growing is the Truffula Pink Gumrina. This is probably the first Gumrina I ever saw because it is pretty easily available at most garden centers. And you know, I love Gumrina. They are one of the easiest, lowest maintenance plants that I have. I have a whole bed of Gumrina out front, those that I started from seed, but these are already flowering, which is why I love plants from the garden center around this time, as well as starting them from seed, because most of my seedlings haven't flowered yet, but these already have some color on them. So again, this is the Truffula Pink Gumrina. It wants full sun and it'll grow 22 to 28 inches. Here it's an annual. I believe it's a perennial in like zone 9 through 11, but that is not Chicago. So I have 6 of these and I'm just kind of spacing them so that they are not like right above or below each other. I do have some questions as far as ordering, but luckily because the pots can come out, I can reorder these any way that I want. So that is going to be the same Gumrina in all 6. Then I have 2 of each of the 3 varieties of petunias. I think I'll start with the new for 2026 ones because I am so excited. So first off, we have Supertunia Vista Cool Jazz. I love Supertunias. Supertunia Vistas are the most aggressively growing, or the ones that will get the largest of the Supertunia series from Proven Winners. So they are my favorite. Anything that says Supertunia Vista. I have bubblegum. I've done the jazzberry. There's another one I can't remember right now, but this is a very pastel, light lavender color. And I am just digging the pastels this season, probably because I usually go for bright colors, but these are just very calming and I absolutely love the color. So these are going to get big. I know that for sure. This will probably be the most vigorous of the petunias because it is the only, I'm pretty sure, Vista. But this I'm trying out for the season. And again, this should be available in 2026. These are full to part sun and they will get 12 to 24 inches. The other one that is going to be new for 2026 is the Supertunia Mini Vista Pink Cloud. So the flowers are smaller because it is the mini Vista, but it still doesn't get quite as large. Like it'll get large, but it won't get as large as the regular Supertunia Vista. But also the flowers are just a little bit smaller, and they have a really beautiful, again, pastel pink color. And there is a very, it's white, but just a little bit of yellow in the centers. Again, a new for 2026. Very excited for these. This says it'll get 6 to 12 inches, full to part sun. And petunias are also perennials in certain zones. 10 and 11. Definitely not Chicago. And the final petunia that I'm growing is available now. In fact, it's new for garden centers for this year, for 2025. And it is the Supertunia Tiara Pink. So it is a Supertunia, but not a Supertunia Vista. So again, just slightly less vigorous, still a vigorous plant, but slightly less vigorous than the Supertunia Vista Cool Jazz down there. But this might be my favorite because it's pink, but it's dark pink on the outside, lighter pink, almost kind of lavender on the inside. And I just thought that with the inside of these flowers, with those flowers, matches really well. So I'm excited to get these all together. I am also sticking to more of a color theme this year than last year. Last year it was throw whatever plants in there. This year I'm just imagining a pastel pink and lavender cloud that I could wheel around my deck. But those are the plants that I'm going to put in here. Now again, this is the only Supertunia that I'm planting that is available this year. The other two are new for next year, and the Gumrina has been around for quite a while, and I love it. Now in terms of ordering, and this is where I want to get your opinion, because again, I can plant this up, which we're going to do today, but then move these around. So the Gumrina I like. I have two here, and then again, so they're not right on top of each other, one there, and then one there, and one there. I put the Supertunia Mini Vista at the top because it has the smallest flowers, and it shouldn't grow as large as the regular Supertunias. So they are both up there right now. This row, I have the Tiara Pink. Again, it's not a Supertunia Vista, just a Supertunia, so not quite as vigorous as the one at the bottom, which is a Supertunia Vista. So I ordered them from what I think will grow the least to what will grow the most. However, I don't know if I want just one color per line. Like this would be all of the lavender, all of the pink, all of the light pink, or do I want to mix them around so it's not just all one blob of color? Like let's say I move this one here and I move the pink one here and something like that, but I don't know. So let me know your thoughts. I think as far as planting these up, I'm just gonna go in with the same colors in the same rows, but let me know. And like I said, I can move these around. So even if I want to change it throughout the season, I can do that. For filling each of the buckets, I have potting soil from last year. So I have a storage bin, a rubber storage bin out here in the corner, just like I have on the front deck. So I just refresh it every season. So what I'm going to do is add in compost. And I actually say this mix is maybe about half and half right now. Compost and potting soil from last year. I'm not going to add perlite. I add perlite typically for better drainage, but these pots, since they're only 1 gallon, and especially the Supertunia, it's going to have big root balls. So they are going to take up a lot of space, and they were one of the containers that dried out the fastest last season. So I don't want to give it more drainage. I want it to hold on to water for as long as it can before the plants start to droop. We'll see if I make a mess or not. Now we plant. I'm going to start with the Truffula Pink Gumrina. And I am going to say 1 tag of each, even though I am pretty familiar with Truffula Pink Gumrina. Add a little bit more compost just to fill that out. And there we go. That one is good. So I'm going to keep planting the rest of this bucket planter up, and then we'll see how it looks at the end. I wanted to show you something real quick with these buckets. I don't know if this is supposed to be a feature or if that's just how it works. You can see this row is kind of tilted a little bit down, which, I mean, I like because you can see more of the flowers. They will still grow upright, but if you want the actual pot to sit upright, then you just set it on that bar there. Actually, let's just do that for now with all of them. Planting is done. I'm loving this. I'm loving this that I'm a bit more organized now and that I have plants in here that I'm pretty sure aren't going to swallow each other up. Again, let me know if you think I should swap any of the petunias around or if the same color in each row works. Now, a question I've gotten asked is how does this weather over time? I did absolutely nothing to protect it over winter. I just left it out uncovered, so there is some rust, but I don't mind when things look kind of battered and beaten up. I actually kind of like things that look old. I'm sure if I'd covered it with a tarp, it would look a little bit better, but I just didn't. So here's what it looks like. And again, the buckets are plastic, so the buckets won't rust, but the frame is metal. And then there are the wheels, and it also has locks on them. I don't really have a problem with this blowing around the deck or anything, so I don't need to lock the wheels, but you can if you want to. Look at how pretty she is. I cannot wait for this to grow in. Now, let me talk a little bit about maintenance over the season. Like I said, these are the containers, one of the containers that dry out pretty quickly, especially because these get fairly large root balls. In fact, pulling out a Supertunia from the top pot last November when I was cleaning out the garden is how I injured my shoulder. Luckily, I'm almost done with physical therapy now and my shoulder feels great. So they will dry out quickly. I do have them set up to irrigation. Not here, irrigation's over there. So I do have to put it somewhere over there in order to use the irrigation. So each bucket did have its own emitter. Some of them though, I did have to come out and water for a second time in the afternoon if it was really, really hot that day. But this is on the east facing deck, so it doesn't get quite as hot as things on the west facing deck. This would dry out a lot faster if it was on the west deck in the hot afternoon sun. So keep that in mind. If you have smaller pots, maybe you want them more in the full morning sun than the full afternoon sun, if that is an option that you have. For fertilizing, I do fertilize these with a liquid fertilizer, any bloom boosting liquid fertilizer. I just go around and do all of my annual flowers at the same time. So that's what I'll do with these. And I do harvest off of the Gumrina. So Gumrina is one of my favorite flowers to dry. I will say the Truffula Pink, because the flower heads aren't as compact, they are a bit messier. More petals fall off than the other ones that I'm growing, but I still do harvest off of them. That keeps them continuing to bloom throughout the season. I don't do that with the petunias. Now I do have an issue with petunias, and that is the budworm. The budworm loves the petunias as much as I do and will eat them until they are bare. I have tried so many things. I've tried BT spray preventatively, and after seeing them, it didn't seem to make a difference compared to when I did nothing. So I think I'm going to keep a very close eye on these because they are the ones that are going to be photographed. And then I will just handpick when I see them, maybe do some preventative BT spraying. I'm not sure. I have to figure out how I'm going to keep this looking good, but I will say that usually doesn't happen, the budworms, until August. So if I can get some good photos before then, it's okay well, it's not okay. I will be less irritated if the budworms eat them after I get some good photos of this. With these Supertunias, you don't have to deadhead or anything, so that's really nice. Maintenance on this is mostly just going to be keeping the containers watered, especially during the high heat of the summer, but look at her. So she's gonna stay here right now. I don't have my irrigation on yet. I do that once I have everything in place, just in case I shift things around a little bit and I need to readjust some of the emitters. So I will wait until everything's in place. I'm watering by hand for now, but I think this is gonna be stunning this year. And I really enjoy every year, like last year, I tried a bunch of different things, found out what I liked, what I didn't, and then that inspires my gardening choices for the next season. Proven Winners did send me all these flowers since they are gonna be photographing this. Now, the two varieties that are new for 2026, obviously those aren't gonna be at the garden centers yet. Where I find Proven Winners in Chicago is Home Depot. And then also I know for sure that Adams and Sons and Daughters Garden Center has them, because not every garden center has Proven Winners, and Supertunia Vistas are Proven Winners series of petunias. There is some Truffula Pink Gumrina that's other brands, but it's called something different. But the petunias, I don't know if you're gonna find something exactly like it. So Home Depot, Adams and Sons and Gardens. If you're out in the suburbs, Chalet has a bunch of them. I will say Home Depot has more of the basic flowers. Like they'll have Supertunia, Vista bubblegum. They'll have, I don't know, just like the most popular plants, but not really a wide selection. Whereas Chalet or Adams and Sons will have more variety of different plants. So I hope that helps if you are looking for proven winners. They also have a search function on their website where you enter in your zip code and they'll tell you who sells proven winners near you. But I think she's going to be stunning this season. So let me know if you have any questions and I will see you in the next video. Bye.